Browns wrap up preparations. They will head to Jacksonville on Saturday. And some good news, Myles Garrett and Za'Darius Smith, who both missed practice on Thursday, were back on the practice field on Friday. They do not have game designation, so they will play on Sunday against Jacksonville. It was interesting, though, Mary Kay, to hear Myles talk about that foot injury.
Yes, he said that it was something he was dealing with during that Cowboys game last week, and as far as this week, we'll see. So he's not saying it's nothing, but it's not expected to keep him out of the game. It's just a matter of will he be as fast or as effective as he usually is. Now, some of this can be gamesmanship. Maybe he wants to lull those Jaguars into a, false sense of security.
Yeah, Myles, of course, coming off a pretty good game where he had a strip sack, almost had another one, was creating some pressures. But, Ashley, we've seen Myles play through injuries before. It wouldn't be surprising if he plays through this injury. But a limited Myles, as good as a limited Myles still can be, you'd rather this early in the season to have him be 100%.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if we can tell if this is impacting him at all, because I really don't think you could tell that something was physically wrong with him on Sunday. Now, we have seen him play with some much more dire injuries. I'm thinking of the groin that he pulled in 2021. That impacted him for a handful of games. Obviously, the shoulder in 2022. He did injure his shoulder in that Broncos game, and he played in that game. We saw him leave in a sling last year. So we've seen him fight through plenty of physical adversity, and we tried everything to get out of him. I think Mary Kay and I were going back to back with some of these questions, and he was not really budging. We know it's the same foot that he injured his toe in during the Pro Bowl a couple of years ago. Not related to that. Not sure when it happened, but that's about all we got from him.
Okay, more injury news. We're still talking about this left tackle situation, and the situation is pretty much the same as it was last Friday. Jedrick Wills is out again. Jack Conklin is questionable. Now, the hope, I'd imagine, is that Jack Conklin, with a week more of rehab, a week more of rest, if you want to call it that, a week more of practice, will be able to go and maybe play left tackle on Sunday. But Mary Kay, we just still don't know if it's going to be Conklin or James Hudson against the Jags.
Well, part of it is, of course, that Kevin Stefanski likes to keep the opposition guessing. So he's not going to say anything about this. He said 24 or 48 hours. You can bank on that being 48 hours. This is going to come down to game time again. Why not keep Doug Peterson guessing as long as possible? Once again, you've got some ferocious pass rushers coming into this football game, and the Browns need all the help they can get.
Yeah, Ashley, at some point we're going to have some stability at left tackle. At some point, somebody's going to be that left tackle for however much longer is left in the season. But right now, this is just going week to week as to who's available and who can play.
Yeah, and I really think, obviously some of that is that gamesmanship that Mary Kay mentioned. But we also know, I don't think with either of these guys who are coming back from knee injuries that ended their seasons last year, they're not going to push them until I think they're 100% sure that they are ready to go. And we talked about this when there was a question last week whether Jack Conklin would play going against Micah Parsons. This week, there still is a very fierce challenge from the opposing pass rushers. Joshua Hines-Allen had 17.5 sacks last year for second in the league. Trayvon Walker had 10. Eric Armstead's in the middle for those Jaguars now. He had 5 sacks in 12 regular season games with San Francisco last year. So it's a tough ask. Those guys better be 100% confident in their health if they are to come back this week.
All right, let's wrap up this video with a vibe check. This has been a week for the Cleveland Browns. We all saw what happened on Sunday and how disastrous that offense looked against the Dallas Cowboys, how Deshaun Watson played, how the protection was, just all of it on the offensive side. And then, of course, another lawsuit gets filed against Deshaun Watson on Monday. So this has been a chaotic week for the Cleveland Browns. And Mary Kay, we know that Kevin Stefanski's teams tend to do a good job of blocking out the noise and playing some of their best games amid chaos. Can they do it again this week?
They usually do that. You're right about that. They have a way of closing ranks, and I think that they're going to do that around Deshaun Watson specifically. I feel like, to a man, everybody that I've talked to in that locker room, they're talking about just being there for him, having his back, understanding what he's going through, and knowing that a lot of people have these off-the-field issues that they have to deal with, and they are supporting him. So I think that's notable, that there's not anyone in there wondering about him and wondering about his character or anything like that. They fully 100% support him, and I think they're going to want to try to keep him upright this weekend and show him that they are fighting for him.
And Ashley, when you ask players, when you ask other coaches about Kevin, they all say the same thing. He's just sort of unflappable. He's the same guy every day. We get so tired of hearing that mantra 1-0 every single week. And today he said it's 17 sprints. It's not a marathon. And so just keeping that focus on the sprint ahead of them. So Kevin is kind of built for dealing with stuff like this.
He really is, and I think last year we talked about this a lot, and you really saw it in that way. I think his fingerprints are all over the identity of this team now, just their ability to have that week-to-week focus and block out anything outside that doesn't have to do directly with the game is a part of the culture he's established here. And I think you really saw it last year, some of those games they won, even going back in earlier years in his tenure. You've seen it time after time again that this team will respond in unexpected ways.
All right, we will cover everything that happens in Jacksonville and beyond at cleveland.com/Browns.